I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hey, leash breakers. Menopause isn't a crisis. Oh, it certainly can feel like it. Especially if you don't know what's coming to you. And on top of that, there's a whole world of misinformation. And it's all perpetuated by society that tells us that women after menopause, gosh, you know what? You're just kind of irrelevant. And today, we're going to crack open the silence about this, the symptoms, the shame, the shifts in identity, because that shit does happen. And there's power waiting on the other side.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Menopause isn't just a short-term situation. It's not like flipping a switch and poof, no more periods. It'd be nice if it was that simple, but it's really a whole damn journey. And it can leash you physically, emotionally, definitely hormonally. I mean, that's what's underneath all the changes. And most women aren't prepared because nobody told us what to expect. Nobody talking about it's too. So we're getting honest about the messy middle and the misinformation and what it takes to stay connected to yourself and to try to maintain some semblance of control in your life as everything starts changing.
Yeah. And you're listening to Unleashed AF, the podcast that tears off the mask, breaks the leashes, dares you to lead like your power actually matters, because it does. I'm Deidre Beecham, visibility catalyst and creator of the Medusa Effect. I spent years trapped in my nice girl training, performing, pleasing, disappearing, making myself small, and unlearning that changed everything. Now I help women to burn their masks, reclaim their voice, and feel safe taking up space fully, unapologetically, and in their own power.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm Jenny Badig, a certified hypnotherapist, coach, human factors engineer, and liberator of subconscious superpowers. I help people understand and unleash what's already inside them so that they can stop sabotaging and start soaring. And together we are leash breakers, dream makers, risk takers. Don't you mess around with us. And you got to be of a certain age to know that reference. And if you're listening to the right thing because you're probably going through menopause too. So if you love what we're about, hit like, follow, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments or at unleashedafpodcast.com. You can go to the page WWJDD, which is What Would Jenny and Deidre Do, to give us some feedback there if you have any suggestions or ideas or things you'd like us to talk about. We're here to expose the leashes, explore what it really means to be free, and to help you step into your fully authentic and unleashed life.
Awesome. So menopause. I know that my mom didn't tell me anything about menopause. And we certainly get this feeling, and it's not just a feeling, but we certainly get these thoughts thrown at us that, you know, once you reach menopause, you're kind of irrelevant to society. And actually, we're going to go ahead and share a quick video. This is Halle Berry talking about menopause, and she talks about just this.
Is such a stigma around menopause and what that means for a woman, and the fact that we're old and we're no longer valuable to society. That's how we're viewed. I realize there's that stigma, but I'm not afraid to get in front of this, right? This is the most normal, natural time in every woman's life. We make up half the population, and every woman goes through this time if she's blessed enough to live long enough. We are, in many ways, the cornerstone of our society. We birth children, right? We give our bodies to procreation so that we all can be here, men included. Why are we discarded when those years are over? Not okay. And that's why I went on my journey, because I knew that I had to.
Love that. Yeah. Love that. And I'm so glad that you found that. And
Well, she's
it just
becoming very vocal, very much an advocate for more menopausal awareness, I guess you would say, and trying to break the silence and the stigma around it, because she has. I'm going to post a longer video of her, like an interview that I saw. That's part of what even spawned us to talk about this today, where she goes into her whole story of being misdiagnosed with a variety of things that she eventually found out was just part of perimenopause. And so that's part of why she's like, this is ridiculous. No woman should have to go through this. I'm going to start speaking up about it and raising awareness. So there's several clips of her out there that are really kind of informative and educational, not just about her own journey, but she's diving in and learning stuff and trying to make some change, some real change about it, which is great.
And I know that, I've been through perimenopause, and here's the crazy thing is that perimenopause can start at a variety of different ages. A lot of people think, well, perimenopause just happens right before menopause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. For me, I was lucky to start having, I went into perimenopause in my mid-30s and had hot flashes for 20 years before I ever went through menopause. So, yeah, it can start at any time. I know you're in perimenopause right now, correct? Jenny, I lost you. Uh-oh. I lost Jenny. I'm not sure oh, there you are. Nope.
There.
Lost Jenny again. Oh, Jenny, you're back.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had the little spinny things. I could hear you, but I'm like, it's spinning and she can't hear me.
So you're in perimenopause right now. And how long when did approximately that start for you?
Well, it's interesting because I've not been officially, it's not like I've done some kind of testing that they go, oh yes, you're peri. It's just because I'm starting to have the symptoms.
Right.
And hot flashes has not really been one of my main symptoms that made it obvious that I was in it. It's been, for me, it was more the hair loss that I started to notice. As I would take a shower, I'm like, whoa, that's more hair than usual. Like, what's going on there?
I remember that. Yeah.
And so that's been going on for several years, not since my 30s, but probably mid 40s. And a little bit more, it's still not completely wacky in terms of irregular periods, but more irregularity to my cycle. And even not just when it shows up, but how it shows up. Sometimes it's like practically nothing. Other times it's like, holy hell, and so definitely more regularity. And so all that stuff probably started, I would guess, mid 40s. And not to the point where I've completely gone like a few months, without having a period thinking, oh my gosh, I'm there, I crossed the finish line. Cause I know still there's usually like after a few months you'll have another one like, God damn it.
Yeah, that does happen.
So I haven't gotten that far, but it's been mostly about the hair loss and the, just more irregularity to my monthly cycle. And who knows what other things, I mean, there's all kinds of things that I'm dealing with at this point. I'm on blood pressure stuff now. Sometimes my heart kind of races and stuff like that. That could be part of, influenced by some of the hormonal shifts, but who knows? So yeah, it's very difficult to tell when there's no set like test or guideline that says, oh, this is why you're experiencing that. It's a systemic thing, because a lot of women will just go in for individual symptoms like that. And a doctor will go, oh, okay, well, let me give you a medication for that symptom, not realizing that it's influenced by this whole underworld of hormonal shifts. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it's like putting Band-Aids on broken bones. Like that's not going to fix it. It may squash the symptom a little bit, keep it from, bleeding out, but it doesn't make it go away really.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, that there isn't some sort of test that you can take. It isn't something that your doctor is ready to discuss with you in most cases. And I have a clip here that talks about why, and this is from a doctor.
I'm going to share something with you that's probably going to upset you, but it is the sad truth about menopause. And I'm talking about the modern day intersection of menopause and medicine. When experts look at a menopausal woman and what is going to give her the best quality of life for the longest period of time, it's a combination of 5 things. It's what I call the menopause toolkit. And your healthcare provider has likely received little to no training on any of them. Nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress reduction, and medicine or pharmacology. Now, you would assume that most physicians would have training at least in one of them, in medicine and pharmacology. But in menopause, that's just not true. In medical school, they may receive 1 hour of instruction on menopause currently. And even OBGYN residents, family medicine residents, trainees who are specifically designed to take care of a woman, little to no training. You must advocate for yourself.
I mean, that's crazy.
That's ludicrous.
Crazy. Something that takes up, decades of our life, if you're lucky enough to live that long, right?
Mhm.
I mean, 'cause normally, now it's all different for different women. Women start at different points, but it's pretty normal in your mid-50s, you're going to be menopausal. Well, there's still your 60s, 70s, hopefully 80s and 90s, and yet they get 1 hour of training
Yeah.
on menopause. I mean, that's just insanity. Insanity.
Yeah.
It's no wonder it's misdiagnosed, and it's no wonder that women are put on the wrong medications.
Yeah. And I even have a female client who is in her 80s who still suffers from hot flashes.
Wow.
And, who knows if she ever got properly treated, I guess, as she was going through menopause. And so there may be some lingering issues. And that's one of the things that I was reading as I was getting ready for this podcast, was part of the risk of not knowing that some of these things are related to menopause, or not being able to catch them early enough and get proper treatment for them, is that they can become chronic issues.
Mhm.
And you don't have a chance to, if you don't get them early enough, then you're not going to be able to treat them as well. The preventive window is over, and now you're just having to deal with, trying to, again, put a Band-Aid on it. So it's not just the hot flashes. I mean, obviously at some point, as people go through menopause, at some point the periods finally stop. But some of the other stuff can linger for years and years and years, and maybe never go away. Some of the issues with anxiety, some of the issues with just the mental fatigue, brain fog, those kinds of things, that can stick around for a long time. And even vaginal dryness, things like that. If you don't do something about it and don't know how to treat it, that can really affect you for the rest of your life, basically.
Yeah.
There are options, I think, for a lot of the issues, at least to make them more easy to deal with, or make them not last as long. But even with that, I think there's stigmas about that, because I know for a long time, I remember hearing stuff about hormone replacement therapy. And I was like, oh, that's got to be careful with that, because that can cause other issues or something. It's there's pros and cons. You hear even to the few options that they have had in the medical community to try to help deal with menopausal symptoms. Have you heard stuff like that too? Do you remember hearing that?
Yeah, but you don't hear a lot. I mean, I certainly heard about hormonal replacement therapy, but you really don't hear a lot. I mean, I started going through menopause. Let's see, it was the year before we moved to North Carolina. So about 2.5 years ago. Does that sound about right?
Something.
And it completely caught me off guard, some of the symptoms, because I had never heard anybody talk about them. And one of the things that happened to me was it felt like suddenly I didn't know who I was anymore. And it sounds weird, but and it's because, and I've explained this to you before, Jenny, we've talked about this, where it felt like all of the mass. I mean, I'm neurodivergent. I was a huge people pleaser for decades. from my nice girl training. And so I had a mask that I wore, it was I'm a nice girl. Yes, everybody likes me. I like everybody. I'm not here to upset anybody, that whole mask. And when menopause hit, like the mask just shattered. I couldn't even pick up the pieces to put it back on. and, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know who I am without this mask. How to be. And I just wanted to be a hermit. I didn't want to be around anybody because I was like, oh my gosh, now anybody can hurt me because I don't have this mask on. Anybody can hurt me. And I don't know. And a lot of that is because I didn't understand boundaries. That's a whole nother show. It's a whole other show. But it felt like, and I was explaining this to an older friend about a month after this happened, because for a good solid month, I just felt like I was losing my damn mind. Just seriously, like I was losing my mind. Fortunately, I learned somatics, and I was able to release. It was like I had all this excess angsty energy inside of me. And so somatics helped me to learn how to throw the energy outside of my body, how to release it. And that helped tremendously. But I called up this friend and I was like, oh my gosh, about a month ago, this started happening to me. And I just felt like I was losing my mind and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And she was like, oh, well, that's menopause. But nobody talks about it.
Right.
I say nobody, but very few people talk about it. And certainly nobody in my family prepared me. And every woman in my family has gone through menopause and nobody told me. None of my aunts, not my mom. I mean, nobody told me. And I'm wondering, as we're sitting and talking about this, I'm wondering if one of the reasons we don't talk about it with each other is because we already have the stigma from men in society because of patriarchy that, well, women are crazy and they make stuff up and they're just hysterical, and it's not that bad. I remember when I was married to my husband and he'd be like, it's not hot in here. Yeah, for you.
It's hot in here.
It's hot in here and I'm dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons we don't talk about it because, historically we've been with men who don't want to listen to that and think that's all crazy. And we don't have enough community with each other where we're just raw and honest about what happens to us as women as we age.
Yeah. And it seems like not only is there a taboo in talking about it, and I think some of this is being lifted now, thankfully, but at least in our mother's generation, it seemed there was a taboo in talking about it while you're going through it. I don't think many of them talked to each other or shared anything. And it seemed like there's also, in addition to that, sort of a magical, I don't remember anything about my menopause experience.
Right.
Because
we talked about that.
Mom, and it's like, oh, I don't remember when it happened, or I don't even remember what I dealt with.
Yeah, I don't remember my symptoms. I don't know.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And
really? It was just magical for you?
It was an unimportant situation to keep in your memory banks. And the downside to that for us is whatever your mother's experience is probably the greatest predictor in what your experience will be. Because there is a whole it's like a fingerprint. Everybody's experience is going to be unique to themselves. There are some similar things that they can kind of expect to happen, but it can still show up differently, just like labor and delivery, I'm sure. I mean, everybody that has a labor experience it's different for them than somebody else. But it's, and I've even thought, my mother obviously had kids. I have not had biological children, so I thought it may be different for me automatically
because
I've never gone through that process.
And how the heck do we know? Because no, they don't know.
Right. Because there's very little funding, very little research done. I mean, on women's health in general, let alone menopause.
And I want to bring up another clip here that talks about how because of this lack of knowledge, in the medical industry, that women get misdiagnosed all the time. So let me play this real quick.
A lot of women are put on antidepressants.
Exactly. That is exactly right.
When they really need hormones.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because, if you have never had depression in your life or anxiety in your life, and now all of a sudden you have it, that should be the first, second, and third thoughts about what could be causing this.
I was depressed and didn't even know it. I had just reached first of all, I could no longer read. I could no longer concentrate on reading. And I felt like, whatever. My life went into like a flat line. I just felt like, okay, so what, whatever. And I now realize that was a form of depression. Yes.
Absolutely. And when you add to that the fact that most women who are perimenopausal are also having other symptoms, it's not just in isolation, because you're having hot flashes, you're having night sweats, your sleep is disturbed. All of those things affect your mood as well, because I can tell you, if you haven't slept in 3 months, you're not going to be in a good mood the next day.
That's for damn sure. If I haven't slept in 3 days, I'm not going to be in a very good mood the next day.
And that's interesting, because I used to, when I was going through perimenopause, I had a lot of sleepless nights. I used to say that I was an insomniac. And now, and look, I'm in my 50s, and I'm just now in watching that clip thinking, oh, that may have been a symptom of perimenopause. The insomnia could have been a symptom of perimenopause, and I just didn't put it all together. I sleep like a rock now, but I didn't, and here's women that are going through menopause who have trouble sleeping. I don't. So it's just so different for everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, I've noticed recently I can get to, I've always been one that it takes a little while for me to get to sleep when I go to bed. So I'm not like head on the pillow and I'm out. It's like, 15, 20 minutes maybe, and then I'll be done. But if I have to get up to go to the bathroom at all, like at say 5 or 6 in the morning, but I know I don't really have to get up until say 7:30, I can't really get back to sleep once I lay back down after going to the bathroom. I used to be able to, but for some reason now, I'll lay there and close my eyes, but I'm not sleeping. So that even could be related to the perimenopause at this point. And the thing, like, you can kind of understand why men would look at it and go, I don't understand what's going on. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Because when you question it yourself, you're like, why the hell am I not falling asleep? Like, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to us. So I don't know how it could make any more sense to a man that doesn't actually experience it himself. So in some ways, it's like, okay, I get why men aren't so clued in to what our bodies are going through. We can't even figure out what the hell's going on, because nobody knows to tell us or explain to us that's probably because your hormones are changing.
Yeah. And on that note, here's another clip about more symptoms you can possibly get. And we'll talk about this.
Started at 48 with heart palpitations. And I went from doctor to doctor, literally 5 different doctors. At one point, female doctor, had given me an angiogram and put me on heart medication, and had never once mentioned that this could be menopause or perimenopausal.
So Oprah, arguably one of the most powerful and richest women on the planet, with access to the best doctors, the best resources, her own doctor, female, I might add, missed that her heart palpitations might be part of a larger clinical picture of perimenopause. So my question to you is, what are the odds that your PCP, your primary healthcare provider, is also missing some of the symptoms that you are experiencing as part of a cluster of symptoms that happen during perimenopause and menopause? And a lot of it's subtle. Some of it's not just hot flashes.
Yeah, that heart palpitations can be a part of it too. And it's interesting because I've had those, and I had never, this is a crazy show because I'm becoming aware of things while we're having the show. But I mean, I've had heart palpitations and I have a few more now in menopause. I've just always attributed it to the medication that I'm on. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's menopause, you know, because I'm on a couple of different BP meds. And I've just always associated it with, well, it's probably the medication causing it. That may not be it at all. That could just be a symptom of menopause or perimenopause.
Yeah. And, you know, I had some concern, gosh, when was this? Probably 3 or 4 years ago, that I was noticing my heart. I don't know exactly what qualifies as palpitations or just racing or irregular or whatever, but it was definitely irregular. Like there were times when my heart would just race randomly and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And other times when it would slow down. And I even bought one of those things that you can like put your thumbs on each side to see what your rhythm is. And is that okay? So I talked to my primary care about it. She ordered an angiogram. She ordered a stress test. She ordered all kinds of stuff. Everything was fine. And it's like, well, but something's still going on. Like how is everything fine, but there's still something wacky going on. And it's most likely because it's related to the perimenopause. It doesn't happen as much now, I think, as it did then. Although I did notice it when I was sick earlier, like last month. I did notice my heart racing a few times when I was dehydrated. That could have been a factor in introducing that too. But it all could be part of the mix. And I think really kind of at the core of all this is that there's just not as much of a study of our hormonal system and how the hormones influence so many different things. Because that's really, I think, where the bulk of the information would come from. If there was a much clearer understanding of just how our hormones affect our bodies and our minds and everything else, I think now we'd be getting somewhere.
Yeah. And also for those of us that have been on birth control, you know, birth control does a lot to you. And I don't know that it's been studied what happens when you are in perimenopause. How does the birth control medication interfere with or affect your hormonal balances as a woman? And I just don't think it's been tested all that much. I mean, look at all the side effects they allow in women's birth control. It's just insane. And we're just supposed to deal with it. And I bring that up because they have been testing a birth control pill for men that has, you ready for this? 0 side effects. None. There's 0 side effects. What in the world? But we've got, I don't know, a whole list of them for any single one that you want to have. Anyway, just a little nutty.
Well, and along those lines, I remember, again, this was several years ago, over a decade ago, easily. You know, I'd been on birth control since I was in college, basically. And that was a long time. I mean, like I said, I'd never had any kids. So I'd never come off birth control. I'd been on it for probably 20 years at that point, or nearly 20 years. And I remember asking the nurse at my OBGYN, you know, like if I were, you know, at that point I was still thinking, well, what if I could, you know, meet someone and have my own kid? How long is it going to take my body to adjust to doing the cycle on its own when it's so used to the birth control medications kind of telling it what to do, basically. And she was like, oh, it shouldn't be a problem. And I'm like, really? Like how many studies do you think they've done on women who have not come off birth control in 20 years? So I decided on my own, I'm just going to come off. I wasn't sexually active at the time. So I thought I'm just going to come off it. So I cold turkey went off the triphasal, I think is what I was on. And it was 8 months before I had a period.
Wow.
So it took my body quite a while to remember how to do that shit on its own.
Yeah.
And then I had that period. I think it was another
Wow.
4 to 6 months before I had my next one. But eventually it got down to where it was, every month. But I thought, yeah, this shows that they don't know what long-term birth control pills are actually doing to our body in terms of letting it do it on its own. So that was an interesting experiment I did there, and an interesting outcome on it too.
Well, if you really think about it, our generation was the first generation that had access to birth control from the time that we were sexually active. And so, it makes sense. We're kind of like the guinea pig generation for that.
Yeah.
And something we haven't discussed yet, but definitely happens. I've observed it for myself that has happened, and that is invisibility.
Maria and I have been saying for years, you cannot outrun, outfox, out yoga, out meditate. Menopause, it's coming for you no matter what. So what do you want to say about this moment now for women in menopause?
Well, I want to say to women, first of all, that it's a blessing because it means you've lived long enough to actually go through it.
Can we just emphasize that more? Because I think when women deny their age and lie about their age and what, you are denying time spent here on earth and everything that you've learned and everything that you've gained.
Well, it's understandable because we need a radical reshift about women's aging.
Yes.
Right, in this culture, because women aren't valued, they aren't seen, they feel invisible, they feel that when it comes to their health care.
Yeah.
And this is a moment, not just for menopause, that's great, but it's for Alzheimer's, it's for osteoporosis, it's for endometriosis, it's for aging, it's for all of these diseases that disproportionately impact women.
Preach it, Maria.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is I noticed a drastic shift. And it's almost like there was some kind of a notice that gets sent out. And I'm being silly, but there was a difference. I started noticing no more leering. I didn't have men leering at me anymore. I didn't have men trying to get my attention. A lot less about, I started being called Mrs. all the time. There's a lot that changes. And there's also a sense of power that comes with that because, hang with me, when you're seen as invisible, then, you have the power to say anything you want. There's a feeling that kind of switches inside at the same time that, yeah, I can say what I want to now. And I'm not talking about being a hurtful, angry, bitter old woman. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being able to say things that you might have thought were scary to say before, and that now you feel like, well, yeah, I'm going to say it because it's not going to get the same repercussion that it would have when I was younger. And there is a part of that that goes on. But on the flip side of that as well, there's also this incredible feeling of empowerment. Like, oh my gosh, I made it through it. I made it through it. I don't have the periods anymore. Yay! I mean, that's just very exciting. And just this, wow, I have a half a century of knowledge behind me now. And there's this whole new generation of women that I could positively impact and help. Which is one of the reasons I love that we're doing this show, because this kind of information is incredibly important.
Yeah, and some of that even kind of makes me think about how it was represented in Handmaid's Tale, right? The handmaids who were of childbearing age and ability were were kind of in one social status. If they were pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
don't do anything to them, because heaven forbid, like that's the most important job that they could ever do, is have that
Right.
child for someone else. But then there was, towards the end, they kind of talked more than they did earlier on in the series about like what Aunt Lydia expected when her handmaids were kind of done producing, so to speak. Not necessarily that they were fully in menopause, but they were just sort of like aged out of
Mm-hmm.
being wanted to be handmaids still. And they weren't using them in the same way that she thought that they were using them. That's when they were turned over to like Jezebels, I believe. She was like, whoa, why are all my girls here? I thought they were going to be given, some wonderful life just being Marthas or something like that. And she was not happy to find out that, nope, they're going to be at this little taboo secret whorehouse, basically, still getting abused and raped. But, there's definitely, so, and in that case, it was like they were invisible because it just didn't matter. You're just another body. Come on in, let me do what I want to do to you. But there was also some empowerment. And like I said, when they were actually able to get pregnant, when they were pregnant, like June was more risky with the types of things that she said and did when she was pregnant, because she knew they would.
She was untouchable. Because she was untouchable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely, that reflected real life to a certain extent. And that if the main view that society has is that it's women's job just to reproduce, then that's where the priorities go in terms of when do we pay more attention to women. And it's also, I think, what influences older men to then look for younger women if they are thinking, oh, well, that's still someone who's reproducible, or you're, able to reproduce. Not that men think it's like that's the only exciting thing is reproduction, but the idea of,
But, you bring up an interesting point because, I think, even if you don't look at, well, they can reproduce, I think one of the reasons that men leave women when they go into menopause is because after you go through menopause, I mean, there's really I don't give a fuck attitude. I mean, there's, like I said, the mask shatters. The nice girl mask just shatters. Then you have to figure out, well, what are you going to do now? How are you going to be yourself? And some women choose to, well, I'm just going to be myself, but I'm just not going to talk to the outside world because it's too scary to do that. And then you have other women like me that are just like, yeah, no, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out how I can make that not scary for me. And again, that has to do with boundaries. And men don't like that. And again, I'm generalizing, obviously not all men, but a vast majority of men. And again, I think that's changing, just like you were saying, Jenny. I think that is changing. I think there's more awareness. Men are more aware of what is happening and taking more accountability for themselves. But for those who aren't, it's just like, okay, you are becoming more difficult because you're saying things that you want. And I'd really like to go be with a woman who just looks at me with gaga eyes and does what I say.
Doesn't question me, doesn't push back, doesn't,
yeah.
Still has her nice girl mask on.
Mind of their own, yeah. And to finish out here, unless you have more to bring up, Jenny?
Well, I did want to talk about, since we've been talking about how there's very little information out there for people to know kind of what could or couldn't be part of their perimenopause symptoms. I did want to bring up what I found in terms of some of the most common symptoms. Obviously, most people know, like the irregular periods, hot flashes, those most people have heard of. But we brought it up a little bit here. Not everybody is aware that sleep issues can be part of perimenopausal symptoms, mood changes, brain fog, weight gain, incontinence, and then even the low libido, vaginal dryness, and and just overall fatigue. All those, many of those things are kind of almost generic symptoms, and they could be a result of several things. But if you're getting tested for different things, it's like, well, that's not it. No, that's not it. Like with my heart thing, when I went through all these different tests, it's like, well, everything looks fine. I'm going, okay, well, still not fine. So and that's part of why now I go, I'll bet that did have something to do with just perimenopausal effects.
Wild.
So it's good to just be aware of that stuff. And I had no idea that could be it until I saw a clip that Oprah had mentioned that she had that issue. So that's still not something that came from my doctor. It's not something I got online. It was something that I saw her talk about. And so in addition to posting a longer interview with Halle Berry and her experiences with menopause, or how she figured out that she was in perimenopause, on our Facebook page, I'm also going to post, I think there's 2 different like specials that Oprah did talking about menopause. And I'll try to find the links to both of those and put those on our Facebook page as well, because there's just a lot of good information. The more people you hear talking about their experiences, the more information you have to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, because nobody else is trained to do that for you, unfortunately. So like the lady said in that video earlier, you have to be your own advocate.
Advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And you can't advocate for yourself if you don't have the information. So this helps. So let's end with this kind of positive outlook on menopause from Halle Berry.
Because I'm down the path of life and I'm smack dab in the middle of menopause, and I am challenging everything I thought I knew about menopause. Like, your life is over. You are disposable. Society no longer has a place for you. You should retire. You should pack it up. I'm challenging all of those stereotypes. You look a certain way. You have to feel a certain way. No, that's not true. I'm my best self now that I reached 56 years old. I have the most to offer. I have 0 blanks to give anymore, right? I'm solidly in my womanhood. I'm solidly in who I am and what I have to offer and what I have to say. I finally realized it's valuable, even if no one else agrees. It's my point of view, and I have a right to have it. So, that's what I say. Own wherever you are.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so glad that you found that clip, because that is an excellent way to end our show on perimenopause and menopause and what it's like.
And just in case there was any confusion about how she censored herself there, she's got no more fucks to give.
Right.
No more blanks to give. At first I was like, no more blanks to give. What is she? And then I was like, oh, wait, she censored herself.
Oh, yeah. She censored herself. Wow.
Yeah.
So if you've been going through menopause, oh my gosh, talk about it. Share it with other women. Share the real story, not just the symptoms, but the kind of shifts that you're having, maybe identity shifts. I went through a huge identity shift. If you have rage, grief, freedom, all of it, any of it, share. Don't leave the next generation in the dark the way we were in the dark, the way you were in the dark. Share it and be the guide that you wish you had. And if you haven't hit menopause, start asking. I wish I had talked to my friend earlier and said, hey, what should I expect when I hit menopause? Because my mom didn't know. But maybe your mom does know. Call your mom, call an aunt, call a friend, and start. If you have a mask that you are wearing, start burning it now. Work on getting rid of that thing now, because it's just going to shatter when you hit menopause. And I'm telling you, do not recommend it. I don't recommend it.
Go through all at once.
It's a lot to go through all at once. Menopause, and then also my mask completely falling off, because the menopause is definitely going to make it shatter. So,
and I think I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is understand, I mean, you can ask friends about their experience, but also kind of find out, well, what was their history prior to starting to go through perimenopause? Like I asked one of my friends and she was like, well, I ended up having a hysterectomy, like a few years after I had my last kid. So it was a whole different deal for me than what it's going to be for you.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
there's
that makes
definitely
sense.
different situations that are going to influence the experience. So, if you have also had a hysterectomy, then you're going to want to talk to other people maybe that had the hysterectomy and see what they dealt with. If you haven't, like there's several different things that can influence it. And so just keep that in mind. The more people you talk to, the more information you get, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So do that. Speak to people, ask questions, and talk about your experiences and make a difference for the next generation coming up. So we're at the end of our show. I don't have any big notable news. The only thing that I can think of at the top of my head is all of the Democrats that have been fleeing Texas. These are the politicians that have fled Texas to make sure that there isn't a quorum in order for there to be a vote so that they can redistrict Texas and give Trump 5 more seats in Texas, which would change everything.
Which would
And
also boot Jasmine Crockett, by the way.
Yeah. And one of the things that I loved was when a politician was, and unfortunately I cannot remember her name, but one of the politicians that fled was asked, well, isn't this just running away from the issue? And she's like, no, running away is leaving the area. I think did Ted Cruz go to Florida? Going to Florida during a deep
Mexico.
freeze. Oh, Mexico. So I left the country, leaving the country during a deep freeze and a tragedy in our state. This is actually actively doing something so that democracy stays in place. We are fighting for democracy, not running away from our duties. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. And the other thing related to that is Gavin Newsom has said if Texas is going to go forward with that, he's going to redistrict California so that it's 100% blue districts.
Yeah. So
he said if they don't go through with it, then he won't redistrict California. So it's not like, oh, now the Democrats are getting just as dirty as the Republicans. No, we got to fight fire with fire. If you're going to do it, then so are we. We can't let you get away with breaking the rules and us just living by the rules and then.
Yeah, Jerry, illegal anyway. I just don't.
Absolutely should be. Yeah.
A legal thing to do. Why is there a fly in my office? So just a few websites to keep in mind. I know we keep bringing these up, but there are a few. GeneralStrikeUS.com is where you can sign up to go on strike when the rest of the country has signed up. We have enough people to make a difference. If you want to do something right now that makes a difference, there's 5calls.org where you can make your 5 calls to your local representatives or national representatives, state representatives at the national level, I should say. And there's also one more that we'd like to bring up regularly, which is mobilize.us, because there you can find things to do actively in your community, in your local area, to try and make a difference and help your fellow citizens to get through this time, which is difficult for a lot of people, and be a part of bringing everything back to center, back to democracy, back to taking care of what we need to take care of and holding government accountable to doing what they need to be doing for the people instead of for just billionaires.
Yep.
So if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, follow, share. If you have a topic or question, want to be a guest, go to our website, unleashedafpodcast.com. Go to your WWJDD. We would love to hear from you. That's what would Jenny and Deidre do. Also, we don't always bring it up, but let's go ahead and do that. Jenny, you want to pop your website up there if you want to learn more about who Jenny is and get into any one of her programs? You can go to hypnohuddle.com or Jenny's website, or you can go to my website, which is deidrebeecham.com. I almost said Deidre Beecham Speaks. That's the name of my business, but the website is deidrebeecham.com. Jenny, you want to close us out?
Sure. Just remember, leash breakers, that you're not too much. You're not broken.
No.
The system is.
And maybe your menopause.
Oh, maybe your will during menopause.
Right.
But you're unleashing, and we want you to keep going.
Awesome. Take care.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us